Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey everyone. Happy Wednesday. Pretty sure. Is this week going slow for anyone else? I feel like it should be at least Thursday already, but no. Apparently it's only Wednesday. I'm to understand, is the State of the Union tomorrow? I'm pretty sure we should probably watch the State of the Union. Probably. Well, guys, welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I stream Monday through Friday on this here YouTube channel, on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and on Rumble, where we talk about all aspects of the culture war, but with a heavy emphasis on the cult of the socialist, the far left, and we do deep dives into their content. I show you stuff that no one else on the internet is showing you, because we do deep dives and watch their long form content 6 days a week, pretty much. We know more about what is going on the far left than any of the commentators, any of the pundits, any of the journalists, any of the so-called experts, because we actually sit our butts down and listen to them multiple times a week. Naruto says, "This will be my time to shine." Yes, Naruto, your time has come. It has come. And I hope Beth shows up today as well, because I promised Beth I was going to do this at some point. Today, we are going to watch Queer Disability Studies. And this is from the New Haven Pride Center. I think this is the third video that we've watched from the New Haven Pride Center. And they did a panel called Queer and Disabled. Let's see what the description says. This was back in 2022, so it's a little bit old, but that's okay. The queer community is filled with all kinds of marginalized people. Queer disabled folks, not spelled with the X, but that's okay, tend to be looked over when it comes to addressing or accessing safe spaces, as well as accessing resources to support their disabilities. Within this conversation, we will talk about how to overcome some of these barriers, how you can better support the queer disabled community, and some of the real life struggles that part of this community feels. There tends to be a lack of understanding, specifically around indivisible disabilities, or I think they meant invisible, but it definitely says indivisible. I didn't read that wrong. Where disabled folks get judged or challenged because of their disability is not visible. Let's shed more light on the queer disabled community through this conversation. That's what we're watching today, guys. Alex, thank you for the member chat and thank you for being a member of the channel. I second that, Reagan. Drunk Carlin watches State of the Union tomorrow. Can I get high? I mean, I know I'm probably more boisterous when I'm drunk, but like, do I have to get drunk? Can I just like smoke a bowl and then I sit here and just like don't say anything? I need to go back and get a cookie at Porkfest or something and eat one. Just eat a fucking cookie and just sit here and not say anything. I'm just gonna sit here and be like. Milo, in fact, I am so glad you asked this, Milo, because there is another spy stream coming up soon. There is actually, if you head over to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, you will find that earlier this week, and guys, there's obviously much more coming on the Substack. There's always much more coming on the Substack, always perpetually. So first off, we did a spy stream last night, and I'm just going to tell you guys what it is. I called it leftist activism indoctrination. I'm going to be posting some clips of this, but let me just say this. If you missed our spy stream last night, you can access it through the Substack if you want to go back and watch the on-demand version. You really missed out. This is one of the all-time great spy streams. We went inside the organizing call for the new revolutionary communists of America. You know that political party that I literally spent all last week covering? So what happened is when the new Revolutionary Communists of America Party launched last week and their video went viral on the internet, it got 2.3 million views and then probably many more now. What happened is they got a whole bunch of applications on their website in order to join the party. Now, I may have been one of those people who submitted an application, although I obviously didn't do it under my real name. But what happens when you apply to join the party is they have someone call you and talk to you. And they literally effing vet you. And in addition to that, last week, they sent out an email to all of the new registrations that had come in to apply to be in their party, and they invited them to a Zoom webinar. Well, when I'm invited to a webinar, I do tend to go, especially if it's under one of my fake names. And so we watched their webinar last night. We recorded the whole thing. It's the most communist thing you've ever seen in your life. We know how they're funded now, which I already told you. I already told you guys they were self-funded. And it turns out I was right. Because when I tell you guys things, I don't just make shit up. I'm not like James Lindsay or anything telling you that queer theory is a Gnostic sex cult. I don't just make shit up that sounds fancy on the internet. When I tell you guys things, there's actually a reason for it. It turns out they are completely self-funded. We know how they're funding. We have videos of that. We have videos of young kids talking about their parents being conservatives, but they're definitely communists. There's so much stuff. They literally, I swear to God, they literally did a training on how to start your own communist cell. And not only did they teach you how to start your own communist cell, they they gave you an opportunity to buy a starter pack of materials, so you can go on their website and get like stickers and flyers and newspapers to like hand out. And what they do is they walk down the street holding the newspapers saying, "Are you a communist? Are you a communist?" until someone says, "Yes, I'm a communist." And then they try to it's honestly like, I have to give the communists credit. The communists have their shit together better than the libertarians or the Republicans can ever dare dream. I will give them credit for that. If you missed it, I strongly recommend you go back and watch it, because it was just incredible. It really, really was. So we have our new communist friend here. If you were on the channel earlier, you heard the chat that our new communist friend, who inevitably is going to become one of my new internet boyfriends, no one tell him that Nick Fuentes is a former internet boyfriend of mine. No one tell the communists that I had a brief internet flirtation with Nick Fuentes. No one tell him, because he's inevitably going to become one of my internet boyfriends. It's just like already a foregone conclusion. If you missed the conversation we had, I launched that on the channel a couple hours ago, and you can actually find it on the Substack too, because we had a nice little chat last night. No bot, don't tell him that I once had an internet fling with Nick Fuentes, okay? It will be frowned upon. Those dissident right-wingers, especially the virgins. I just can't help myself. Anyway. If you want to support the work I'm doing, guys, and get access to that spy stream I just told you about, because I am 100% completely funded by you, just like the communists, I am entirely self-funded, except what I'm not going to ask you to do is donate a day of your wages to me, although don't think I didn't think about it. That's what the communists are doing, by the way. They're saying in order to be a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America, your dues are a day's wages. And I said to Victor last night, I was like, why did I think of that? Why didn't I say, in order to be in my Unwoke army, you owe me 1 day of wages a month? I'm like doing this $8 a month, $80 a year thing. I was like, this is a much better business model. Everyone owes me a day of wages and super chats every single month. That's how that's going to go. I may age myself here. This is the nightmare that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. One day people start seeing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll be seeing it forever just because. I don't know what song that is, Naruto, but I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, in order to answer the question about is there another spy stream this week, there is. There is an extra special spy stream this week that is going to take place on both Friday and Saturday, and possibly just a dalliance into Sunday, possibly, though not guaranteed. We are doing a multi-day spy stream infiltration starting on Friday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. I may even have to reschedule Socialism Saturday for this. I need to finalize the schedule. And then there is something going on Sunday, but I don't actually know if it's going to be worth our time. I'm kind of like, I need to go through and actually look at the schedule, which I will do like within the next day or so. But what I need you guys to know is we are going inside an extremely woke conference. And I'm not going to tell you what the conference is. Some people already know what it is. If you come to my community Zoom calls, you already know what it is. But like, it is an extremely, extremely woke professional organization that is in charge of training professionals that you might interact with. And we are going to be going inside their live conference. And like, I can't even tell you guys, every single session is woke. We're talking about decolonization. We're talking about queer studies. We're talking about feminism. We're talking about What else? I mean, I don't even know. Like, every woke topic is on the table at this conference, and we're going to go inside it and we're going to watch it live. And how fun for us that they're streaming it on the internet. So I didn't even have to go anyplace in person. We're going to be doing that on Friday and Saturday. That is available just for supporters. Again, if you head over to my Substack, carlin.substack.com, you can sign up for that. $8 a month, $80 a year. It will also be made available to my locals supporters, to my Patreon supporters, my Twitter subscribers, and my YouTube channel members. So I appreciate you guys funding the work I do. That's why you get extra access to it. And we're going to have a grand old time over the rest of the week. Azur Wing, are you going to check pay stubs to make sure it's a day's wage? My understanding with the communists is it's basically like the honor system. So I will trust you guys to do the honor system to send me a day's wages in super chats every single month. I think that this is like a really good deal for me. I've learned a lot from the communists, I have to say. Guys, there's one other way you can support the work I'm doing, and that's by heading over to the Unwoke Art store. That is unwokeart.com, where you can buy some sweet merch. Now, I was notified, and I apologize for this. The discount code to get 25% off the Make McCarthyism Great Again design and the new Unwoke Wiki design. I was notified earlier that the discount code is not or was not working. So I apologize for anyone who tried to get the automatic discount. I always do when I launch new merch in the store, a 25% off discount for like the first week, and it wasn't working. But I fixed it now. So you can get a couple of the new designs for 25% off. One of the designs you can get is this amazing Make McCarthyism Great Again t-shirt, because it's about time we had an anti-communist revolution in this country. If the communists are getting organized and have their shit together more than the Republican Party, then we probably better start organizing too. And we know that the communists are very proud of being out there being communists. And so I think that we should be very proud to be out there being anti-communists. So we are going to make McCarthyism great again. You can get this design in the Unwoke Art store for 25% off. Kino says, I heart capitalism. Capitalism is the best. Another design you can get off for 25% off right now is the new limited edition Unwoke Wiki design, which was a tarot card inspired design. This goes to fund the Unwoke Wiki, in which we are documenting all this stuff. You might say, Carlin, you're literally making a list of socialists and socialist organizations. You're goddamn right I am. And I'm funding that by selling limited edition merch. The merch changes each month. You can only get it for 1 month. The logo also changes on the website. We use the Plague Doctor as our guiding principle because this is the year of the anti-hero, whether people like that or not. And you can get that in the store, and it has this cool thing on the back that says the socialist revolution is real. Maybe I need to update that to the communist revolution now that we have our new communist party. But you can get that in the Unwoke Art store, and those are going to be available for 25% off. And I do appreciate the support, guys. Look, you can even get it on a shot glass. First time I've ever done a shot glass before. I hope someone buys a shot glass and takes a picture of it and sends it to me, because that would be rad. All right, guys, those are the ways you can support the work I'm doing. Again, I really appreciate it. Let's just dig right into things, because I have a schedule. Because tonight, I don't even know if I should say this. Tonight, I'm going to be doing an ill-advised Twitter space with the Groypers. I don't know if this is a good idea. It's probably a really bad idea. I probably shouldn't be doing an ill-advised recorded Twitter space with the Groypers to talk about James Lindsay. And I was specifically asked to call James Lindsay some choice words in the ill-advised recorded Twitter space with the Groypers. And that's going to start around 7 o'clock tonight. Naruto, the song was the opening of the 90s show Lamb Chop. Oh, that makes sense, Naruto. I appreciate that clarification. Well, apparently the Groypers are indeed recording it. This is a weekly thing they do when they're trying to be uppity on the internet. And actually, do you guys remember, I strongly doubted, he's not a Groyper, so I doubt it. But do you guys remember when I first started like hanging out with the Groypers, and there was this one older gentleman that we met on Twitter? His name is I think it's Edward, and he came into our chat sometimes, and he has like the best radio voice in the world, and he was just like the voice of reason, and I was talking to him about the Palestine stuff quite a bit, and he was just like a nice dude, and he retweets my stuff all the time, and he DM'd me, and he was like, Carlin, I do this Twitter space with the Groypers where they get a little bit rambunctious, and you should go and call James Lindsay a faggot. And I was like, oh, I can't use that word. I legitimately hate that word. I can't believe I just said it on the internet. Don't ever say that word. It's a bad word. Don't do it. I legitimately don't like that word. Who are the Groypers? Our new communist friends. They're Nick Fuentes followers. They are the do you know how you were warning me last night about the lonely boys on the internet that gravitate to the right? I told you I had a forbidden internet romance with Nick Fuentes, bro. Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Groypers. I feel that Edwin, thank you. I suck at names. I can see his face. I can see his image. I apologize. I can see it in my head. I just suck at names. It's not him, it's me. Here's the thing about the Groypers, though. The Groypers need direction. Oh, good. I've got the F word pass. Thank you. I know the gay men on my channel will forgive me. The gays love me. They love me. You guys, I'm allowed to use that word. The Groypers need focus and direction. And if I can, if talking about James Lindsay and our recent experiences with James Lindsay inspires the Groypers to have some direction in their rambunctiousness on the internet, I just feel like sometimes odd bedfellows are odd bedfellows, okay? And I talked to anyone. I talked to a communist last night. Why can't I talk to them too? And I gotta say this too. I genuinely do believe that the Groypers are actually some of the more interesting people on the internet. The whole dissident right is like way more interesting than the conservative right. It's like the conservative right, and no offense to any conservatives who might be here, the conservative right has a giant stick up their ass like I've never seen before. And it's like they don't say anything interesting. They say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and they think they're smarter than anyone else when they've been literally saying the same thing and using the same talking points for years and years and years and years and years. At least Nick Fuentes is saying something interesting. At least the Groypers are interesting. They can be unpredictable and boisterous and rambunctious, and they surprise you, and I like being surprised on the internet. Carlin's soft and steady voice calms the savage beast inside every Groyper. I mean, really, though, they just all need a mommy, don't they? Isn't that really what it's about? Like, they all just need a mommy to pat them on the head. Oh, God. Joshua always tells me I don't have kids of my own, and so I mother the internet instead. And apparently, whatever. Okay, whatever. Anyway, let's dig into it. Let's get serious. Get back to business. I need everyone to mount that like button for me if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, either YouTube or Rumble, or followed me on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, where all of a sudden I'm actually getting viewers on X, which is really great. Hi to everyone watching over on X. I appreciate you as well. And just so you guys know, I can actually see the chats over on X. So if you guys want to chat something in, let us know. Make sure you're following me over there. Make sure you're following on whatever platform you're watching on. We are watching a panel about queer disability. Let's get this party started and see what these particular socialists have to say. Start. Where's the sound? Start. There it is.
My name is Laura Bocadoro. I am the Marketing and Development Manager here at the New Haven Pride Center, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to our Queer and Disabled panel. Just before we begin, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we're hosting
Land
this event.
blessing!
So
Land
the New Haven
blessing!
Pride Center was founded and operates on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, Mansatucket, Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Shagatoke, Golden Hill, Paugussett, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac peoples. Please take a moment to acknowledge and honor the Native people whose lands you occupy and the history of the place you are in. Now, I'd like to start to introduce our panelists. So first, I'd like to introduce disabled rights activist Elaine Kolb, Max Fallon Goodwin.
Hang on, it's got a super chat from Naruto. I give you a pass to use retard, maybe not during this particular stream. Naruto, I will use the word retard anytime I damn well feel like using the word retard, okay? We've just been able to reclaim the term retard. I'm very excited about this. If I don't use the word retard at least a dozen times a day, I really feel like I'm just not trying. And so if I feel like using that word, I will use that word, but I appreciate the pass. Thank you, Naruto. Let's see. Will we do a capitalism poll? Yes. Let them introduce themselves first, and then we'll do the capitalism poll, okay?
And Finn Lockwood. Hey, y'all.
Say them.
Hey. Oh, your mic's unmuted. Yes. Okay, cool. So thank you so much for joining.
See, I think this is going to be good for our new communist friend, because here's the thing. The revolutionary communists of America, more or less, don't do the postmodernist queer Marxism bullshit. And so we're basically introducing our friend to the wonderful land of retardia that is queer Marxism. Now, I don't know how much our communist friend you do live in like the Pacific Northwest, I think. I'm not going to say specifically where I think you live, but I think you've encountered some of these people before. But this is like, you're going to, like, if you've never encountered these people before, you're about to have a whole new appreciation for why I do what I do. I promise you. These people are on your team, bro. Don't matter. These people control the K through 12 schools.
Us today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with y'all. Kind of just to start, let's do some brief introductions.
They're all day. All day.
So,
pop quiz
again,
for the chat.
I'm Laura. I'm queer.
Pop quiz for the chat. Why do all of them have they pronouns? Because it really shouldn't be that normal of a thing to have they, them pronouns. Like, there are men and there are women, and that's just like, that's the way the world works. Why do every single one of these socialists have they pronouns? Even if it's she, they, or look, Elaine has we. We? You want, like, we're referring to that person as a multiple person? Why do they have they, them pronouns? Let me see. Because non-binary means no binary. Their goal is to abolish the gender binary. They want to abolish men and they want to abolish women. Non-binary. To be queer is to go against the normal. Normativity meaning capitalism, of course. They do not like the gender binary. They don't like the gender binary because they believe capitalism created the gender binary by putting men in the workplace where they had power and money, and women in the home doing the oppressive and unpaid role of raising the next generation of proletariat workers. That is what is called the patriarchy. And that is what they want to eliminate as an attack on capitalism and the nuclear family, which they believe upholds capitalism as well. These are queer Marxists. They want to abolish the gender binary as a product of capitalism. Yeah, what's with that we pronoun? I haven't seen that before. They denounce gender. They are non-binary. They want to abolish the gender binary, to get rid of the oppressive gender binary. They're all non-binary, which means they're all part of the collective. They are all comrades. They are all in solidarity with each other. Going against the normal is going against capitalism. Abolish the gender binary to destroy the system. You guys are getting some great answers in today. Lots of correct answers in the chat. Dragon Tail, I gotta tell you, Joshua was talking about you to me the other day because you subscribed to his Substack. And Joshua was like, Carlin, you've got to get into an internet romance with this guy. And I was like, I would love that, Joshua. He's gay. And Joshua's like, no, they're all gay. And I was like, no, But Joshua told me I needed to start an internet romance with you. He told me that you were exactly the right man for me. And I was like, you're not wrong, except gay. Lots of right answers in the chat. Well done, well done, well done.
And I'm disabled. Whoever wants to go.
Okay, hi, I'm Max. I'm also queer and disabled. I'm a current student at Smith College, where I'm double majoring in study of women and gender and Africana studies, with a focus on food movements and food justice.
Smith College.
I most recently was published in Whetstone magazine. My research took me to Auburn, New York, where I wrote about Harriet Tubman's time in Auburn. Wow. I'm really excited to have this discussion and get to know everyone more. Yeah.
Then you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Finn. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I am the trans program curator at New Haven Pride Center. And I, too, am queer and disabled. I am also trans and non-binary, and there are a lot of ands I could add to that. But for right now, I think it's really exciting, one, to have a coworker who is also queer and disabled, and to be able to explore that together, and also to have a community within the LGBTQ community as a whole in the state. I'm just really excited to be here, and it's an honor to talk with y'all.
Elaine, do you want to do a little introduction?
Absolutely. It's just that I'm Elaine Kolb, she, they, we, and part of what we do in disability justice events, which we will become as we keep learning more and more about these things, but in really inclusive events that are disability justice oriented, we try to provide visual description for people that have low vision or are blind, and for other reasons. So it's just helpful. And so mine is kind of extensive, but it's also part of a poem. So I am a fat, old, ruddy white dyke with short gray hair, sitting in a six-wheeled power wheelchair, flying a rainbow flag, wearing a tie-dye t-shirt with a rainbow peace sign necklace, and also a Black Lives Matter pin and a Real Healthcare for All button. And I have been involved with lesbian, LGBTQIA, XYZ, yabba dabba do, I'm queer, that's me. How about you? I've been involved now.
I'm not even mad at this
I came
woman.
out before the Stonewall Uprising in 1968 in Buffalo, New York. Not the hotbed of
I'm not even mad at her. Not even mad.
So, but I acquired my physical disability in 1977. So this is the thing. Part of what has been a heartache all these years, once I acquired the obvious physical disability, is I have not felt welcomed or affirmed as part of the LGBTQIA community, although I have tried. And we have such
this
an
is an internal.
Yo. It
just hit me. This is an internal struggle session within the LGBTQ. This isn't even about communicating with heteronormative people. This is an internal queer Marxist struggle session where the queer Marxists are telling the other queer Marxists, you're not being inclusive enough, and we're going to read you the riot act for not being inclusive enough. Holy shit.
Can do together and bringing in other people too, but by telling our stories and sharing them, wow. And we can lift each other up. When the Poor People's Campaign, the new one, I'm old enough to remember the original one, but the new one, they have a song that says, when you lift from the bottom, everybody rises. And we, as queers with disabilities, have the combination of consciousness, experience, and mutuality to do something that's really never really been done before. We have the opportunity to create something that is interracial, multicultural, intergenerational, gender fluid, and the change, this is what hasn't happened, disability inclusive. Everyone. That's us. Everyone. Yay. We can do it.
Yes.
All right. Now that we have done their introductions, I'm going to put a poll in the chat, but please also feel free to chat in your answer. We want to know who is going to say capitalism first. Is it going to be number 1, Laura, she, they? Number 2, Elaine, she, they, we? Number 3, Finn, they, them? Or number 4, Max, also they, them? Answer the poll in the chat to help us get a sense of which one you guys are voting for the most, but also chat in a number. If you want to really officially register your vote and make a commitment, 1, Laura, 2, Elaine, 3, Finn, 4, Max. Let us know which one you think is going to say capitalism first. You can also pick the dark horse candidate of no one is going to say capitalism. That is an option as well. Let me see. I just got a super chat, I think. Here we go. Oh, wait, actually, hang on. I got another super chat here. Sorry, Naruto, I missed it. I predict economic Marxists will inevitably clash with the queer postmodern Marxism. However, queer Marxists have a more current control of the current generation due to language and institutional power. This is correct. Dear revolutionary communists of America, your greatest enemy is not the capitalist revolutionary communist of America. Your greatest enemy is the queer Marxist. You just don't know it yet because you guys don't follow queer Marxism like we do. But these people make it a business to co-opt movements. They don't care about economics. They're not reading your Trotskyist theory. They're not reading Lenin. They do read Marx, but they do some other stuff too. But like, these people are a far bigger threat to you guys than you even dare understand, and you should be thanking your lucky stars that I'm taking the time to show them to you. Thank you, Rottweiler. We gays aren't very inclusive. It's our only flaw. Indeed. Let's see. Who is winning the poll? Number 2, Elaine. We think it's going to be you, Elaine, by 44% of the vote. Let's see.
Thank you so much, Elaine. I'm so excited to sit down with all of y'all. I know me personally, I mentioned it to y'all before. It was really hard for me to identify as disabled for a long time and consider myself disabled because all my disabilities are invisible for the most part. The only thing you can see is my hands are a little crooked, but that's about it. So it was very hard for me for a very long time, especially being queer and disabled. There are just sometimes it's just hard to access spaces. Like there are certain places where we were talking about earlier, there's stairs and nowhere else to get access, or there's places that don't have doors that we can open, or there's places that are just not accessible to folks who use either mobility equipment or have trouble using stairs or trouble walking, or have trouble with their eyes and ears. But I would just love to dive into kind of like a conversation around that at first. Like, what do y'all think we could do better to create more accessible spaces? And what would you kind of like to see out of the able-bodied queer community to help us access those spaces? So, yeah. I know that was a long question.
Can I just suggest that we begin to shift a little bit?
Hang on. Amelia, sup? Haven't been on here much. Good to see you again. Why are right-wing influencers of this is a great question, and I really think, guys, listen, it has got to be our number one job to press this issue. If this community accomplishes anything, it will be forcing right-wing influencers to say the word capitalism. Why are right-wing influencers avoiding using the word capitalism? Watched Rufo the first time yesterday, and he almost said it. Almost. Listen, I have not been hearing good things about Chris Rufo's appearance on Joe Rogan. I don't know if anyone watched it. I wasn't planning to, if I'm honest. I just don't like sitting for that long and watching something. But like, I actually had people proactively DMing me saying, Carlin, you're going to flip your shit if you watch this Chris Rufo thing on Joe Rogan. And I was like, don't tell me that, because Chris Rufo is one of the people that I really was trying not to like. I think that Chris Rufo has done an admirable job. I really do. I think that, you know, there has been no single activist that is as effective as Chris Rufo, and you have to give him credit for that. I do think, though, in the last couple years, it's all gone to his head, and I think that he's working on things that, quite frankly, don't really matter and are just branding exercises. I think he's gearing up to run for office at some point. I think that he is all about brand and image and crafting the narrative. I really actually find it to be a little bit gross how much he focuses on he is going to massage the narrative to whatever he wants it to be, because that, to me, tells me that Chris Rufo doesn't care about what the truth is. Chris Rufo cares about crafting a script. And I know he cares about crafting an image. And so it was wild. At the end, he said his whole family are Leninists. I mean, I kind of believe that. Like, I've never had a bad relationship with the guy, although I have recently started hearing that he shit talks me behind my back, which I do not like, because I have never once shit talked Chris Rufo behind his back. But if I shit talk someone, I say it on the internet. But it would be really nice if Chris Rufo would start explaining what whiteness means. It would be really nice if he started using the word capitalism. It would be really, 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 really nice if a lot of these right-leaning influencers started to use the word capitalism. Because every time these guys refuse to use the word capitalism, the people who are not using the word capitalism reveal to all of us that they are crafting a conservative, tribalist narrative. They're not interested in beating the left, because all the left cares about is abolishing capitalism. But these people refuse to tell their audiences what is going on, which is why conservatives are so goddamn confused about what it is, because conservatives just want to weaponize all this stuff to rile up tribalist dissension and nonsense. That's really what they're doing. That's why they're not saying capitalism. So we need to make them say capitalism. And we need to pressure them and continue to get into their fucking Twitter replies. And I don't care if they block you. If they block you, you start replying to the people in their replies. If these people do not have people like us on their asses saying, why aren't you saying capitalism? They're never going to do it, because literally all they care about is their goddamn Twitter feed.
Because long time ago, we would say ABs for able bodies, that within disability rights culture. Mm-hmm. And then we thought about it and said, well, it's not just able bodies. You know, it's disabilities are not just about the body. Mm-hmm. So what we really came up with, that I think is the best, to be honest.
Fair point, well made,
not
Judy.
Yet disabled.
Fair point, well made.
That's fair.
Guess what? It's a majority experience. Mm-hmm. So let's pass the word to people that, guess what? You're just not yet disabled, but live long enough and you'll join us. And then that's when disabilitophobia Oh no, not that. Anything but that.
I love Elaine, and I
So-
want to bring her on this
The
channel.
other thing, add to
I hope Elaine is still alive.
ableism, disabiliphobia.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Disabiliphobia.
And I think to add to that, Elaine, I think of like the way we think about accessibility. I think we need to reframe that thought. Instead of thinking, how can these places be made more accessible? I think we need to think about how society can bring more people into understanding their disability. So like everything is built thinking that everyone has two legs to walk on, two eyes to see from. And instead of framing society in that way, we need to restructure the whole thing. And everything just needs to be made equitable with every single person in mind. Bring nuance, bring the collective thought into conversation constantly.
Equity
when you're
means
building a program
socialism.
like this, when you're opening a bar, whatever you're doing, like, how can I make sure everyone can be invited? And how can I listen when someone says they didn't feel invited into this space?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think everything that was said so far is so to the point. I think that one of the questions you asked, Laura, is like, what can, the not yet disabled community do to
The not yet disabled?
support us? And I think it's just, number one, listening. Number two,
Hang on.
believing.
The not yet disabled. Isn't that an interesting word choice? The not yet disabled. Queer Marxists believe that queer is the natural state of the human being, and that people are only hetero or homonormative if they have been socially programmed to buy into these social constructs created by capitalism. And the only reason people would do that is because they've been programmed from birth in the nuclear family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what they say is like queer is our natural state, right? This kind of reminds me of that when they're saying like not yet disabled. You may not be disabled yet, but you will be at some point. Kind of seems like a little bit of a threat in some ways, but like they're implying that like disability is the natural end result, which I guess on some level they're right. Like people are gonna get older and their body's not going to work as it once did. But like to identify as, it's a weird thing to say, like, it's inevitable. So therefore you have to be inclusive for us and fuck us, because that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? Really, we're talking about doing this in the queer community because we want to be able to fuck, and you guys don't include us in your little fuck parties. And if you don't include us, you are disability phobic or whatever that word was. They use both. But you're probably not going to hear that in this context, but these are socialists. These are so generally speaking, these people will use socialist, communist, and Marxist like in the same sentence to describe themselves. They'll say as socialist, as communist, as Marxist. So they basically use the three words interchangeably. But these are far left. Queer is a far left political ideology. These are socialists.
Us and not making us prove something.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, also not making it seem like we're, unicorns or the minority or special by asking for accommodations. Max used a really great word, equity. We're not all born with the same thing. Sometimes, like for myself, a lot of my disabilities, and I know some people in our circles don't even like using that word disability for a lot of the stuff that I hold as a disability. So I just want to say that these are my own experiences, but like a lot of them I've been living with them since birth. So it's like I have always been in this body. And that's just how it is, and that's just how the world is. And I think that we all need to accept that we're not all on the same playing field.
I couldn't, when you said like we're not all unicorns, like that alone is such a great like way of putting it, because people do look at, specifically, I feel like queer disabled folks as like, whoa, what an anomaly. Like, oh my gosh, like you're so different. And it's like, it's not a trend. This is my life. And I've been living this experience for X amount of years. And this is part of my identity. And it's almost like, what's the word? It's looked at in a way where it's like, you're either helpless or you're just different. And that idea, I know, of helplessness, like when a lot of people that don't know me really well see me walk around with my.
Hang on. For our commie friend, queer is a political identity that applies Marxism on sexual and racial minorities. Learning their language is important. Yeah, when we're focusing on learning the language of socialists, that's really more about cultural Marxism than it is about economic Marxism, because most of the socialists that we encounter are not economic Marxists, they're cultural Marxists.
Cane.
Thanks,
most of them are
thanks,
like,
Rottweiler. Appreciate it.
What did you do to yourself? Are you okay? Are you injured? And then it's me having to then do the emotional labor of explaining, well, I have X, Y, and Z, and that's why I have to use a cane sometimes. Because especially when I don't use a cane, people are like, well, I saw you with a cane yesterday. And it's like, yeah, well, I don't have to use it every day, but I am still disabled. And I know me personally, like when I walk around downtown New Haven, like the looks that I sometimes get as a younger person using a cane with invisible, all my disabilities are, you can't see them on the outside. I get some looks, and I get strangers who ask me why I'm using a cane. And it's like, why do we constantly have to do the emotional labor of explaining to somebody what our disability is, why we are disabled, what happened to us, like why, like we have to explain ourselves as to why we need either mobility aids or why we need to ask for help or so on and so forth. So I appreciate you bringing that point up, Finn, for sure.
And I want to add to what both Finn and Laura were saying about like access and having to prove, because there's so much bureaucratic proof that we have to give. And I think that's something too for people who are owning businesses, people who might have queer workers for them, is to not need like bureaucratic paperwork to prove a disability. Because for the most part, it takes so long for a diagnosis to happen. It takes so long for you to be able to have access to that proof that you sometimes need. So yeah, just like not needing to prove it on any level, just being like, nope, this is my body. I know my body. I actually understand my body better than anyone else. So I'm going to tell you that I am disabled and I need this thing to help me through the day.
Absolutely. So we just got a question from Aaron O'Donnell. What would you like to see from the healthcare companies to help the queer disabled community, policy-wise or representation? I have just a quick thing. I'm sorry to just jump right in. But one of the things I struggle with is severe endometriosis. And as a queer woman, going to seek gynecology or OBGYN stuff can be very uncomfortable sometimes. Especially as somebody who has reproductive issues, to say the most part. And I would love for healthcare places to just not judge, just listen. Because I know me personally, I recently got like half of my reproductive organs removed because of how bad it was getting. And when I asked them if they could just do a full hysterectomy, it's, oh, you're so young. What if you want to have kids? Da 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 da. This and that. You'll have to do IVF one day. And it's just like, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you what would make my life easier as a disabled person.
Look at that. They expect everything to be 100% affirming. Like you walk into a doctor's office as like a relatively young person and say, I want a hysterectomy. And the doctor's supposed to go, okay, you know your body better than anyone else. Signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm not going to ask you any questions about why you're a young person and you want a hysterectomy. I'm not going to do any due diligence to make sure that you're making the right decision before I completely remove your ability to ever have a child ever. Like, that's called exercising basic responsibility to say, are you sure you want it's also informed consent, by the way. Doctors can't Okay, this is my understanding. I actually don't think that doctors are allowed to perform hysterectomies without doing informed consent to say, do you realize if I give you this hysterectomy, these are going to be the side effects of this hysterectomy? And let's like talk through some of this stuff just to make sure you're okay with it. And then I'm going to make you sign this form saying I talked to you about this so you can't sue me later. But no, in the era of everything is affirming and everyone is a unicorn and everyone is whatever gender they want to be at any given moment, she thinks she can walk right into a doctor's office and get a hysterectomy just because.
Because honestly, endometriosis was one of the things that was slowly killing me the most. But please, I would love to hear. Elaine, I would love to hear from you next.
Well, see, this is the thing. Unfortunately, we still live in the medical industrial complex with the pharmaceutical people kind of in charge, and then the insurance people on top of that. And so then you got all these various and assorted bureaucrats on top of all that. So this is part of the problem. As people with disabilities, all different kinds of disabilities, it's like I still have to prove. I was injured on September 30th, 1977. There has been no miraculous change in my condition. In fact, I'm getting older now, and I'm lucky me, I get to have more. Yeah. And some of the things that are actually most personally complex for me to manage are the emotional issues that I had that preceded my physical disability, because I had them. So nobody can see those. If I don't tell you about them, you would never know. Mm-hmm. And then, given the fact that I acquired the physical disability by being stabbed in the back.
What?
Little PTSD, you think?
What?
So,
who stabbed her in the back?
But the medical system.
Fun fact. People don't like to talk about this, but it's true. 50% of all domestic violence is committed by women. And if Elaine is a lesbian, as she has told us that she is, and she got stabbed in the back in the 70s, I'm going to just register a bet that it was Elaine's lesbian lover that did it. Because, I'm sorry, ladies, women are insane. Like, and again, people don't like to talk about this, but I'm just going to say it. Like, I'm not in favor of men beating women. Obviously, that's awful. That should never happen. But there are also times when women will throw things or hit men with things or other women with things or stab people or any of those things. Women commit domestic violence as well. What the fuck happened that this lesbian got stabbed in the back? I think we all know what happened.
Still, is horrendous. So what we need as human beings.
And I'm going to say this too. And this is also going to piss people off, but you know, I've already gone there, so I'll just get it all out in the open. Many times when men are charged with domestic violence, it is because the woman did something to provoke it. Now, I'm not suggesting that anytime a man commits domestic violence, it is the woman's fault. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. There are many, 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 many times when men commit domestic violence that it is 100% the man's fault and the woman didn't deserve it and the men came home drunk or something like that, and like, so there, that absolutely does exist. But there are also times when a woman will nail a man over the head with a fucking frying pan, and then the man hits back, and all of a sudden it's all the man's fault. And the man gets charged for it, and the man gets in trouble for it, when in fact it was the woman who hit him over the head with the goddamn frying pan in the first place. Again, I don't excuse any violence. I think if violence is bad when men do it, I think violence is bad when women do it. I don't think it should ever happen, but I also think that a lot of men get in trouble for shit that is provoked by women, and women are never held accountable for this.
We need universal health care. Simple concept.
Socialist. Universal health care.
That's really what we need. And the universal health care needs to include individually appropriate services, equipment, training, therapies. But no, they say, okay, you have a spinal cord injury, you qualified for this, blah, blah, blah. If you can just see, the thing is, people, non-disabled or not yet disabled people, I use both terms, are under the false impression that, oh, we got charities to take care of them. Everything's fine. And now they, because we're always we have places for them. And they have the Americans with Disabilities Act now, and that takes care of everything. And, you know, they're fine. No problem. They got curb cuts. Wow. What most people don't understand is that the most dangerous thing that we have to do as people with disabilities is to go to the hospital without somebody with us. And that's been one of the most horrifying things that has happened to a lot of our people, is that we can't safely be there without somebody as a witness and to be our advocate.
You can't safely be in the hospital?
Dangerous.
That's just not true, Elaine.
And they haven't even provided accessible exam tables.
She's actually, I'm sorry, we is actually saying that disabled people can't go to the hospital, like they aren't safe in the hospital. Why aren't disabled, is the hospital going to euthanize them or something? Like, why aren't disabled people safe in the hospital? The hospital's annoying to go to. The hospital's boring to go to. Nurses are cunts. I'm sorry if anyone's here and is here as a nurse. I'm sorry, but nurses are bitches. Like it's not fun to go to the hospital. Sin goes to the hospital without an advocate. She does just fine. I really don't mean to offend anyone who's a nurse, but if you are a nurse, you know what I'm saying is true. Nurses are bitches. They really are. The most toxic profession in the world is nursing, okay?
Yet. They're only glorified barber chairs.
Absolutely.
So, come on.
Yeah.
So, like, what happens is for some of our people is they will just randomly select.
Is she crying?
Like 4 or 5 people to come that have never touched you before and don't ask you what you need. They just come, grab you, pick you up, plop you down.
People just don't understand how dehumanizing that stuff is. And like, I had to file a complaint with Yale ER once because
Yale, ooh,
like almost having a fall incident because I couldn't bring my partner with me, and they refused to help me go to the bathroom. They refused to bring me to the bathroom because I looked fine. And I almost fell and cracked my head open. And I had to file a complaint with them and do all this follow up. And, oh, we thought you were fine. You looked like you were doing well. Da 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 da. And it's like, I'm telling you, my pain level is on a 7 still. Just because I don't look like I'm dying, you're gonna devalue like the care that I need, and that you're not allowing me to access. And it's just so performative as well, you know. And I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much space.
Right.
No, you're taking up too much space, and let's not do that to each other or to our friends. We love you.
Absolutely. And I think to both what both of you said is to like the question earlier is thinking about it like, I don't know if I'd ever feel.
They think this is a great question from Laura over on Twitter. Thanks for watching, or on X. I need to get better at calling it X. I've been on Twitter since 2007. Okay, it's always going to be Twitter to me. Do they think they will get this kind of care with universal health care? They won't. Well, of course they won't. And our communist friend says they aren't bringing up many Marxist point. What do you think universal health care is, bro? Universal health care is socialist. Equity. Every time they say equity, the only way you achieve equity is about abolishing capitalism. Equity and capitalism cannot exist in the same place at the same time. Equity is socialism. They're bringing up your talking points. They're just using queer Marxist language. You don't understand it because you don't speak queer Marxist. We do. We know exactly what they're talking about.
Safe in the healthcare system as it stands, which I feel like sounds very pessimistic. But I think the healthcare system as it stands is a violence against disabled people. It's a violence against queer people, Black people. And that violence also stems from capitalism.
Oh!
And I think that's also very important to acknowledge.
Who voted number 4? Who voted number 4? Max. They, them. They're not bringing up any socialist talking points, communist. Why are they talking about abolishing capitalism then? 4. That was a dark horse candidate if I ever saw it. God damn. God damn. And what perfect timing. Just as the communist says, they're not even bringing up any Marxist talking points. They're like, you know what the real problem is? The real problem is capitalism. Exactly. No, you cannot change your vote. You lost this one, bot. It's okay. There'll be another one tomorrow. Dragontail says, I'd like to send a shout out to Deb Philman, who will watch this. Hi, Deb. We're looking forward to your upcoming half-ass stream on Crip studies. Hi, Deb. Hi. We're looking forward to you discovering this wonderful world next, Deb. Just because I did it, you got to do it too. Man. What a moment. Well, I wasn't sure we were going to get a capitalism today, if I'm honest about it.
That our medical industry is a for-profit business. Our bodies are for-profit and they can be butchered, they can be maimed just so someone can make a buck, or they can be completely ignored.
Let's rewind and let's just relive the moment of capitalism again.
Pessimistic. But I think the healthcare system as it stands is a violence against disabled people. It's a violence against queer people, Black people. And that violence also stems from capitalism. And I think that's also very important to acknowledge is that our medical industry is a for-profit business. Our bodies are for-profit and they can be butchered, they can be maimed just so someone can make a buck, or they can be completely ignored. And it's terrifying. Like every time I go to the ER a lot, every time I go, it's like I'm fighting to prove that there's something wrong with me. It's never just like this easy thing. It's always an argument with a doctor. The worst case I had was during early COVID. I got COVID in May 2020. March 2020. So really early. And I have like horrible asthma. I was unable to breathe, went to the ER. The sheets that they put me in the room were covered in snot, like from someone else. And when I brought it to the nurse's attention, she picked up the sheets, threw them away, like didn't say anything to me. And then like wouldn't listen to me when I was like complaining. I was like sitting there like I can't breathe. And then she wanted to give me, it was like 3 a.m. Steroids. And I was like, I don't want to take steroids at 3 a.m. It's going to give me anxiety. And she's like, that doesn't happen with steroids. My mom was panicking because she knew I had asthma and like COVID was just happening. She wouldn't talk to my mom on the phone. And it's just like constantly, like if you can't be an advocate, or you don't have someone to advocate, like you could just die on a table and it would feel like no one
You
cared.
will literally
So
die
I think
because
in order
of
for us
capitalism.
to really like build a healthcare system that works for queer disabled bodies, we have to like work in our communities. And like that's where like the safety starts, and that's where we build from, is like building this safe community and like doing stuff like this where we're making these communal connections is like
Some
the
might
most
say
important
collective.
thing to me right now.
The collective will fix the
Yes.
problem by
We
abolishing
need like
capitalism.
trainings. We need folks to like we need disabled people to be doing trainings to be able, because the competency, like the lack of, is so infuriating. And it's like the fact that we have to be dehumanized, and like you said, we're just things of money, right? We're just profits for folks. It's like, how are you supposed to feel safe going into a space? And as a disabled person needing medical care, how are you supposed to feel safe to go to a space that's supposed to help you, but then at the end of the day, it's just traumatizing to go there because you know, it's not accessible. It makes you feel bad about I mean, I know me personally, it makes me feel bad about myself. And, you know, it's hard to not be like, well, am I the problem? And I know, and we all know we're not, right? We all know we're not. But it's so, it's so traumatizing to, especially queer disabled folks queer folks are already super abused in the medical system. You know what I mean? And on top of having disabilities,
everyone is abused.
Like we need queer and disabled folks like doing trainings on the field, talking to medical staff and professionals, and educating them on how to respectfully
do the work,
humanely treat queer disabled people.
They should hire a whole bunch of us.
Yeah.
To do this.
And all of us, we're here. We're all queer and disabled. Hire us.
Hello.
Use capitalism to hire us,
Yeah.
and then abolish
Jen,
capitalism.
I would like to hear more from you a little bit about this, because I'm a charter member of Honor.
Use capitalism to hire us so we can teach you to abolish capitalism. Using capitalism to abolish capitalism. That is the socialist way. Rottweiler says this proves economic Marxists will be absorbed and or discarded by queer Marxists while you argue over Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin or whatever the heck you guys are arguing over. These people have the power. The economic Marxists are going to figure this out at some point. You guys don't think that Revolutionary Communists of America Party is going to be infiltrated by the queer Marxists? I saw a queer person on your call last night, Josie. You've already got queer Marxists in your party. They just aren't organized and haven't co-opted it yet. They'll find out. It'll be okay. And then when the queer Marxists inevitably do capture the new Revolutionary Communists of America, we can come back and watch this moment and I can go, I told you so. I tried to tell you they were going to co-opt your movement. Just like we do with the conservatives all the time.
Non-anonymous. I can go on and on and on.
Elaine, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just kind of taking it all in because, like, I knew this would happen, but it's always so, like, some of the experiences I've had in, you know, the medical field, I'm like, there's no way this happens to other people all the time. Like, maybe, you know, maybe it's in my head, like maybe I'm just, you know, trying to like victimize myself or whatever kind of bullshit, excuse my French, has been, you know, fed to me to make me feel this way about myself. But, you know, like at the end of the day, I don't really feel safe going to doctors anymore. Like Elaine, I feel like I was taken aback by your, you know, recount of a bunch of strangers coming into the room and just their hands on you, and you lose that autonomy. I think that was another word that came up. to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I have going on. One of the things I have is a rare form of psoriasis called pustular psoriasis, and it's debilitating at times. It flares up, it comes and goes. Sometimes, like right now, I have a flare up on my like torso, and like, you know, content warning for some of the things I'm seeing for folks that might have issues with hearing
Trigger
about
warning.
things like this. But like, I haven't been able to wear a bra for like the past week or so because of my psoriasis. And there have been
I
times
never
where
wear a
I've been
bra.
to
What's
the
the big
ER,
deal?
and because it's such a rare form of psoriasis, it's not seen often. And it's a very common experience for me to go into an ER and then suddenly, especially at Yale, I'm just going to say it, I have all of a sudden the room is flooded with students, like medical students, taking pictures of my body, taking notes. I'm getting chills as I'm saying this because it may not be a surprise to y'all that I have PTSD from many different things in my life, including my medical experiences. So I think that one thing that we can do is absolutely get better representation for what queer disabled bodies can look like. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think, and also Max, you said something about like going into the ER and doctors telling you like, you know, taking steroids and you're worried about it and affecting
Bras
your
are
anxiety,
capitalism
because I'm
anyway.
assuming you have had that experience and you know yourself well enough to say no, and the doctors are saying, yeah, you're wrong about your own body.
All right, we're about at the halfway point. I just want to do a quick pause and welcome everyone to the stream. If you have joined recently, especially my new guests over on Rumble, good to see you guys. Please make sure you are subscribed on whatever platform you're watching on, whether that be YouTube, X, or Rumble. Please make sure you mount that like button for me. I do stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. On Saturdays, we do Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m. We are watching a panel from the New Haven Pride Center from 2022 about queer and disability and socialist healthcare, apparently. Let's get back to it.
It's mind-boggling. So, yeah.
I've had issues with doctors just wanting to pump me with pain meds, put me up with pain meds, and I'm a recovering addict. And every time I go to the ER, the first thing they say is, "Well, do you want?"
Yeah, they're like
narcotic.
there are 223 people watching on Twitter, which is nice.
I'm not here for that.
Hi, Twitter.
I can't have that.
X,
and they're basically
whatever.
like, "Well, we can't do anything for you then." And it's just like it blows my mind. Like, I'm calling 911 for an ambulance to come and pick me up at my house, and you can't do anything for me. Like, it really needs to be something like that's assessed. And I sat down one time with a representative from the Yale ER and talked specifically about queer experiences, but did innuendo towards queer disabled experiences. Never got a response back from them. And it's just, I wish people would be more willing to have these conversations, because like, for what you just said, Finn, I wish we didn't have to put like disclosures around stuff like that. Like, we should be able to talk about our disabilities and how they affect us in whatever way like we can and how we want to. But instead we have to filter ourselves because it may be uncomfortable for folks, or it may be, you know, triggering for somebody. And it's like, well, this is my body. Yeah, it's triggering for me too. You know?
I just wanted to clarify something about the getting thrown around like a sack of potatoes thing. I've had a little bit of that personally. Mm-hmm. More often, it's been that I was there with someone else to be the person that was the advocate and the
they have not yet talked about the Gnostic sex cult.
Whatever.
We're still waiting,
especially
forever, for the Gnostic sex cult.
We were together for 11 and a half years. We met at an ADAPT demonstration in San Francisco in 1987. At the time, I was living in Atlanta and she was living in New Haven. Well, guess what? We fell in love. Well, that's how I ended up in the area here. And Patty, her name was Patty Deek, and she had one of those disabilities that just gets worse all the time, like muscular dystrophy and related conditions. Well, she had a related condition. So she was one of Jerry's kids, or as some of us changed the title to, Jerry's orphans. Anyway, so by the time we met, Patty's disabilities had advanced to the point that she was quadriplegic. She could do a lot of things, and she had very significant scoliosis of the spine. And so she had Harrington rods put in her back to stop. Once the spine starts twisting, you can't bring it back, but you can stop it from twisting any further. So she had Harrington rods put in her back. And there was no way she could physically do a lot, especially get up on an exam table. But one of the times, many times, we went to the hospital. Then they put her up on the table, which anytime they put her on her back was excruciatingly painful for her. So she was put on one of those tables for an x-ray.
Hang on. We're doing our best to help our communist friend here. They sound like no. These guys hate the DSA just as much as you do. They talk openly about how much they hate the DSA. I interacted with a lot of these people when I went to the socialism conference. They're part of groups like the Tempest Collective or the Denver Communist or the Boston Revolutionary Communist or the Seattle Revolutionary Socialist, like people like that. These people do not like the DSA. Some of their groups specifically forbid their members from joining the DSA. So no. No, sorry, wrong.
To wait outside. And then the staff got called away. And Patty also was severely hearing impaired. And of course, they took her hearing aids out. So Patty was laying there in the dark, on her back, in pain, trapped. And they got called to an emergency in another room and left her there. And I heard her calling, Elaine, Elaine.
Yeah.
And I went.
We can understand why you might think these are DSA. The truth is, we have gotten very good at sussing out DSA versus like radical revolutionary socialist. We don't even watch the DSA anymore because they're so awful.
And there she was. So after that, I insisted upon one of their lead jackets, and I would never leave the room again. But she had to have x-rays.
You shouldn't be sharing that with us, Elaine. That just shows, like, how much.
This happened so many different times in so many different ways. And how do we manage to still find the courage and the strength to fight for our lives, because we have to? Because if we give up, they're more than happy to let us go.
Elaine is starting to annoy me now. She was funny at first and kind of.
I know for a long time I used my disabilities as a crutch. I can't do this because of that, and when I kind of came out as queer, I was like, oh, I can be queer and I can be disabled and I don't have to use it as a crutch, but like society tells you to use it as a crutch, right? Everyone says you're disabled. Oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. But like what Max said earlier about equity, like people thinking about that.
No,
and creating spaces.
I have a great amount of, like, Elaine to me strikes me as like, listen, man, I'm not gonna say that I think it was easy to be a lesbian in the 70s, okay? I'm not gonna, or the 60s, or whenever Elaine came out as a lesbian. I'm not gonna say I think that was easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure like life has not been peaches and cream for her. I'm sure she's had a lot of hardships, and so I don't want to diminish that. It's very sad, and like you always want people to do well in life, fine. Elaine to me strikes me as one of those older kind of like people, because it's not just women who do this, older men do this too, where they're disabled, they can't get around like they used to. Maybe they have a very limited amount of like social interaction, and they do stuff like this because it gives them an outlet for social interaction and attention. And when they get the attention they're looking for, and they get the affirmation, and they get the "you're stunning and brave, you're stunning and brave, you're stunning and brave," like it's kind of overwhelming for them, because they're like, people see me and I'm getting this social interaction that I never get otherwise. And it is actually kind of a sad thing. And so they use these like activism circles as a way to have friends, or not even maybe friends, but like have people to talk to, be able to express themselves, be able to have that type of interaction. It's a sad thing, man. It sucks. Like, when you get older, I think a lot of older people get very isolated, and they get very desperate for some kind of like human companionship and attention. And I think that's very natural. And I think that's what we see happening here, is that she's using this as a way to get attention and affirmation and love. And there are healthier ways to do that than trying to overthrow capitalism. Maybe she could just join a bridge club or something. She could go play board games. She could join a knitting circle. A lot of lesbians knit. There are more productive things to do.
Or so on and so forth. That is like what we have to do moving forward. Like we can't, and again, you said it too, Elaine, this societal like just pressure of like being disabled in like a certain way, and how the society views disabled folks. We have to change that narrative. Or not even change is not quite the right word I'm looking for. Rewrite. We must rewrite that narrative, and look for that equity for all. Like you say, Lane, it's it's all of us,
And I also think I really appreciate having Elaine here, because I think calling back to the people who have been organizing around disability justice for a long time is paramount.
I low-key fucking love Canasta, and I will never admit it in public, and I only play it on the computer. I can't keep track of all those cards, but I low-key love that game. I think it's great. Hearts too. I'm good at hearts. I'm good at spades. I'm like, okay, we're not going to talk about old people. Rummy, fucking Rummy champion. All right.
Out and moving forward, because I think back to like my own ancestors and like maternal care between like slave women. It's like there was always sources of care for our bodies that were outside of medical norms. And then I think like Black Panther Party setting up like medical stations. So there is this like history of communities coming together to care for each other's bodies outside of for-profit medicine. And I think that that's something like having Elaine here really inspires me to be like, we need to rebuild those. Yeah.
I'm very grateful to have Elaine here as well. And we're able to have these conversations. And, some of us are, I think I might be the youngest one here, but I really love being able to like hear these experiences that I never knew, happened. I can only really know my own experiences. So Elaine, I really appreciate your vulnerability with us as well, and everybody's vulnerability here right now.
That's our strength. It really is. Our strength is to be willing to be real in a fake culture. Being real is revolutionary.
Is it? Is it, Elaine?
Amen.
Revolutionary, you say?
think we just had a question pop up, but I'm not exactly sure what it said. But I think
go ahead.
Did you catch it? Okay.
Yeah, it was. Wait, Sione might have just put it in. Yeah, she did. What would you like not yet disabled
There
people
will
to
be no
understand about
solutions.
being both
Hang
queer
on.
and disabled?
Hang on. There will be no solutions, communist. There will be no solutions. This is not about solutions. This is a struggle session. They are struggle sessioning the LGBTQ community because they can't get laid. That's what this is about. This is not about coming up with practical solutions other than abolish capitalism.
How do those two experiences interact in your life and in general?
So I feel like, if I may talk about this a little bit, because I find that I was thinking earlier today, and I feel like for me personally, my queerness, my transness is like, it is absolutely like linked to my disability in a way that like I can't disentangle the two sometimes. Like, were it not for my disabilities, like I do have multiple, but the one that affects me, I think, the most in the most impactful ways is the pustular psoriasis, because of how disabling it has been. Like, I realized I was non-binary because of having psoriasis. Like, it was the one thing in my life that could like stop me and slow me down enough, because I also do have ADHD as well. So like, being a person who is neurodivergent is really difficult in a world that is like constantly go, go, go. There is no time for you sometimes to really explore yourself deeper than like, how the fuck do I stay alive day to day? So when I had a particularly bad psoriasis flare up, like, I was in bed and out of work for, weeks at a time. And it forced me to realize, like, why do I feel so, obviously I have this, disorder that is making me feel so physically uncomfortable, but this discomfort is.
This is actually an argument that's being used in more than a few school districts. So since queer is a political ideology, the LGBTQ flag is a political flag that shouldn't be in schools. There are people who are using exactly this argument to get those flags out of schools. I think it's happening. I heard about it happening in Texas. I've heard about it happening in Utah. Give it a try.
Is not like, it's familiar. It's something I feel constantly, and it's not just from this disability I have. There's got to be something else. And like, that made me start to realize that, I was non-binary, and a couple years later, I started HRT. And I feel like I want more people to like, I feel like sometimes, at least in my experiences, maybe more with mental health and stuff, I think a lot of times my queerness or my transness is focused on more than the other things that I think are affecting me more. Like, to say that I think my queerness is seen as, again, an anomaly, and that's what's making me depressed. So all of my medical providers and therapists, thank God I have an amazing therapist now, shout out to Andrea, but like, in the past, like...
Well, you know what's funny, Human Centipede? And this is just anecdotal. I don't know how true this is, but I've been defining queer as a far left political ideology for probably the better part of a year. And 6 or 7 months ago, I started hearing through the grapevine that all of a sudden, James Lindsay was talking about queer as a far left political ideology. I don't know if he got that from me. I don't know how he came up with that. It's one of many, many times I used a talking point, and I got it down to the most succinct way to say it. And then a couple months pass, and I've been saying it over and over and over and over and over again. And I write articles about it. I do videos about it. I do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, here comes James saying exactly the same thing. Totally came up with it on his own, I am sure.
I've had people just be like, "Oh, so I see you're trans. You must be sad about that all the time, right?" And it's like, no, that's one of the few things that like brings me joy on a daily basis. My transness brings me joy. As much heartache as it's brought me, it brings me joy every single day. And I can say that without a doubt. And like, people need to stop thinking that our queerness is part of the problem, you know? Yeah, I feel like I got really into that. So someone else definitely go ahead.
But that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I guess we have a lot to say.
Absolutely.
We're just gonna need a part 2. That's all.
There we go.
Let's just see this as the beginning of us opening up and just letting it all pour out whenever possible, and giving each other and ourselves the space and permission to do that.
Elaine is so accepting and inclusive.
When I was newly disabled, in terms of the physical disability, part of what helped me personally tremendously was that I was already a poet and a songwriter, and already an activist. So it was like, oh, yeah, well, this sucks, but, you know, I can write songs about this too. You know, like, I can be an activist. I can do disability rights stuff. Yeah. So, and one of my songs is "A Crip Can Be Hip."
A Crip can be hip.
Oh,
That's
I
adorable
can't wait
in
to
an
sing
old
for you.
lady way.
I get to hear it.
You know, it's
Great.
Please sing it.
it's
Please sing it. Please
and
do
see, the
it.
thing is that I think that, and I'd like others to share also, if you have creative outlets of your own in different ways. I
Oh no, you're right.
can't imagine how I could have survived all these
You're
years
right.
if I didn't have this gift of the poetry and the songs that come to me that then I am able to share with people. What I tell people is that without this gift, I might still be breathing, but I wouldn't be alive. So what are some of the gifts that you have, or the sharings that you have discovered that helps to bring your spirit up so that you can manage, even though sometimes it's really horrible, but life is wonderful and awful at the same time. We, as queer disabled people, understand that better than almost anyone. That's power.
I know, like, within my queerness, it actually, I was diagnosed with most of my disabilities prior to coming out as queer. And I know that when I came out, it actually gave me empowerment to talk about being queer and disabled and talk to people, you know, like, about my experiences and not feel shame for that, and not feel shame for needing help or needing extra support and whatnot. Because I had a really hard time at college with being disabled. Colleges sometimes look at you like a nuisance almost. You have to have all this paperwork and stuff, but that's a whole nother topic. But I know one of the outlets that I use is drawing. I use an iPad because I can't physically draw anymore. My hands shake a little too much. So I found all this. I used to draw all the time, but my hands started getting really bad a couple of years ago. My knees and my hands are the worst, so my walking and my writing and whatnot's gotten a lot worse. But my awesome girlfriend bought me a cheap iPad for being able to draw on, and I draw hands a lot. I draw like bodies, all different kinds of bodies a lot, with all different forms and shapes and sizes and things on them. Because representation is important, whether it be in song, it be in poetry, it be in drawings, movies, conversations like this. Like, yeah, it's just the representation's important. But
Okay, I did see a question that Ocean put up about what are some of the things that allies can do to support us? What opportunities are there for allies to support?
I really love that. I love that our communist here is in the active stages of grief, where right now we're in the disbelief stage. He's in the disbelief stage that this can't be happening. These are not real Marxists. These are not real socialists. They are, bro. They are. You're going to go through many other stages. If you keep watching my content, you're going to go through many other stages. You're going to go through the bargaining stage. You're going to go through the anger stage. You're going to go through the depression stage. And finally, you're going to reach a point of acceptance that these are socialists. These are Marxists. They are your comrades. They are in your movement. And they are going to co-opt your political party at some point. But it's okay. It sometimes takes people a long process of acceptance to go through this. And we're probably going to have many more streams where you come and join us, and you're always more than welcome. And you're going to be in disbelief every single time. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to keep showing you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again from all the different groups all over the country. And you're going to hear the same language from all of them. And eventually it's going to click that they are speaking in the coded language of cultural Marxism that you don't know because you are an economic Marxist. You're not a cultural Marxist.
I feel like, Max, you had something you were going to say too. Also,
yeah, I can sort of connect it all. I think like when you exist in a queer body, you're already existing in a non-normative body, like to what society standards are. So to exist as someone who is queer and disabled and Black, it's like all of these things exist outside of what the heteropatriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy want you to be and want you to look like. And
what was that? The heteropatriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism? What did I just hear, comrade? Let's listen again.
I feel like, Max, you had something you were going to say too. Also,
yeah, I can sort of connect it all. I think like when you exist in a queer body, you're already existing in a non-normative body, like to what society standards are. So to exist as someone who is queer and disabled and Black, it's like all of these things exist outside of what the heteropatriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy want you to be and want you to look like and want you to function as. So I feel like all of them are constantly working in tandem together, and like all of us, all these different people who exist outside of normative standards. Again, I like keep talking about collectivism because it's like all I think about all the time right now is like
collectivism. All they them thinks about is collectivism. Really? What's another word for collectivism? What might they them be talking about when they them says collectivism? Does anyone have any guesses in the chat? What does collectivism mean? I know there's a slight delay. Collectivism means socialism. Collectivism means socialism. That means communism. That means communism, communism, socialism. It does not mean Gnostic sex cult, Kent. That is a James Lindsay lie. Collectivism means communism, socialism, communism, socialism, socialism, communism, socialism, socialism. It means the Marxism Borg hive mind, socialism, socialism, communism, commies.
All of those are inside my body. Like I am the embodiment of every part of like all of those exist at one time. It's not like sometimes I feel more queer and less disabled. No, that exists in tandem. So I feel like, yeah, we need to be constantly working together again, because something that supports Black women is most likely going to also be something that, you know, supports another person who is outside of what society wants to support. And what
is another name for something that is outside of what society wants to support? If the capitalists are the bourgeois, what do they consider themselves to be? When they are marginal, when they're saying they're marginalized, when they're saying oppressed, when they're talking about heteronormativity, which is the bourgeois, what is another word for marginalized or oppressed or outside of normativity? What might be another? Would that be proletariat? That would be proletariat. Proletariat. They are the proletariat, bro. Proletariat. The workers, the proles, the working class, the proletariat. On a good day, we actually hear themselves refer to themselves like this.
Allies do to be better is, I think it's a huge, like, the sympathy versus empathy thing that happens, where I expect people to be empathetic. Like, I want that, but I don't want someone to
feel sorry.
Feel sorry. Or like I have epilepsy. I don't want someone to be like, oh, well, I had a really bad migraine once. Like, I get it. Like, I don't want the constant comparison, because it's okay not to get it. It's okay not to be in this part of the community and not understand, but you can like be there and you can listen. And that's, I think, what we're all asking for, is just to be heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen and then follow directions. I mean, it's just
and then do the work.
Want to take over my life and they're not qualified. You know, they keep wanting to tell me what they want to do to help me. And it's like, you have no idea who I am and what I need. So
what I'm capable of.
Yeah. You know, I mean, just so you know, this is just so weird, because there's only two problems with disabilities: having one that's apparent or visible, and then having one that's not apparent or visible. I get to have all of the above. It's coming. Woohoo! It's like
jackpot.
Disability of the Month Club. Oh no. Keep getting more.
Me too. Every year it feels like a year. And the past 5 years, I've gotten 2 new ones, and mental health ones. So.
It's like scout badges or something, like you know,
or something.
Yeah, bingo. That's a good
get my
one.
prize at this point.
That's a good one.
I feel like I deserve it at this point.
I feel like I did want to. I see that Ocean also asked specifically, what is the next step from here for NHPC and the activists here? And I thought that was a really good question too. And
oh shit, I just accidentally reloaded. God damn it, where was I? Someone rewind real quick and tell me where I was. I didn't mean to reload. I just wanted to see what time it was or how much we had left. Someone tell me where I left off. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I don't know. I know someone will come through. Tell me where I left off, please. Please just rewind and tell me where I left off. Fuck you, bot. All right, well, we're just going to go somewhere in the middle then. Around 49 minutes. That's kind of what I thought. I think I almost got it exactly right.
I think, like, for speaking as a program, the trans program curator at
I think I got it exactly right,
Center,
actually.
I know that there are things that I'm going to miss. And, like, even though I am a person who is disabled myself, like, I need to always have an open mind. So I think that goes for everybody. And like the idea of equity too, like realizing
socialism,
our privilege within our own communities too is extremely important, and keeping things as intersectional as possible, because like, you know, like Max, what you were saying, like something that could benefit, you know, a Black woman might benefit like someone within the trans community. And that's why it's so important for us to like keep it connected, keep it collective. Like I think talking and thinking about collectivism all day is a good thing. And like I feel like there's like I'm hopeful, and I like to see like the good around me. And I do think that there's like a positive trend towards like, at least within like our communities, like there's a trend towards collectivism, people wanting to work together. Like
collectivism.
I know more about trans healthcare from my trans peers and like my partner who is trans and also disabled. Like I feel more supported by my community right now than I do like my primary care doctor. And I hope they're not watching, but like it is what it is, you know?
I hope they are.
Honestly, yeah. Like
I hope they are.
Yeah.
I understand that a lot in a similar way, in a different way at the same time, because I only kind of was able to find the resources that I needed through the Pride Center and through our community. And what I was going to say just like left my mind, but it's so important to like have these conversations and bring light to this. So like, I know me personally through NHPC, like I'm not a programming staff, but I will sure as hell, excuse my French, do more of these conversations, events, you know, like action events. And I know all of our program curators that we already have, like think about, you know, disability access and think about that stuff. So I'm appreciative of all of our staff at NHPC. So I just want to put that.
Yeah. I think this answers the question a little bit. Sorry, go ahead, Elaine.
No, you go ahead, Max.
This is like answering the question and also going back to what everyone's saying is I wanted to share this like essay I really love by Eli Clare, The Mountain, from their book Exile and Pride, that I'm obsessed with, because it goes to like what I think the next step is. And the quote is on the last page. Crip, queer, freak, redneck will be mere words describing human difference. Super Crip will be dead. The nursing home burnt down. The metaphoric mountain collapsed in volcanic splendor. Post-revolution, I expect there will be a literal mountain I want to climb but can't. But I'll be able to say without a doubt,
What is the revolution, do we think? When they say post-revolution, what do we think the revolution is? What revolution are they referring to specifically? Do you guys hear that? Let's rewind just slightly.
The metaphoric mountain collapsed in volcanic splendor.
Hang on.
Because it there, the mountain from their book Exile and Pride that I'm obsessed with, because it goes to like what I think the next step is. In the revolution on the last page, this. Crip, queer, freak, redneck will be mere words describing human difference. Super Crip will be dead. The nursing home burnt down. The metaphoric mountain collapsed in volcanic splendor. Post-revolution, I expect there will be...
Post-revolution. Aaron on Twitter says, are we allowed to share your videos with a town Facebook page, or will that out you? Aaron, not only would I encourage you to share it, I would love for you to share it. You can also share my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. That has more information on it. I also have a class on my Substack called How to Speak Socialist. It is completely free. It is 2 hours long. You can also find it in my Twitter highlights. But if you go to my Substack and click the How to Speak Socialist link at the very top, it's going to be the first thing that you see listed. And so I would encourage you to share as much as you like, and I really do appreciate it.
A literal mountain I want to climb but can't. But I'll be able to say without a doubt, without hesitation, let's turn around. This one step is too slippery for my feet. And it's something I go back to a lot of the times when I'm thinking about like all the things I want to do without resting, without like it is Exile and Pride by Ela Claire Ciani.
Bet you she's a
just thinking about
socialist.
resting in my queer disabled body, thinking about the limitations that do exist, that it's like okay to have limitations. I don't constantly have to push myself. And I think that's like next step in a revolutionary society for me would be no one expected to go outside of what their body is actually physically capable.
Isn't it funny that Max, they, them, who is the only person in this presentation who has said capitalism no, that's wrong. Finn also said capitalism, I think, but Max was the first one to say capitalism, and Max is also talking about the revolution and being revolutionary and post-revolution at the same time as they're talking about abolishing capitalism.
Of and accepting our limitations in a way that is transformative.
Appreciate you hearing that.
I am personally
2022
just thrilled. I don't even have the words for how happy I am right now, because I have been waiting for decades, hoping and praying and meditating and saying, come on. And here we are, and we're doing it. And what we're going to do is so needed by us and by everyone. At this point in time, we are here. We are here specifically at this time to do this amazing work together. And we've been guided to find each other.
Aww.
And here
he'll be back.
Are.
Okay.
And
he can't
just
quit me.
Today,
he'll be back.
This came through. And because I don't know why, but for months now, I've been writing haiku. I don't know. Anyway, it's happening. It wakes me up in the middle of the night. I have to get up and write them and then go back to bed. Otherwise, I won't remember. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so how about this? Does it work for everyone? Self-love is the way.
He is better than Autumn. That's for sure. I wonder whatever happened to Autumn.
So elusive for so long.
Yeah, he probably did have to work, and so we should be nice to him.
Is
if it's going to be my new internet boyfriend, you need to be nice to him.
How's that for a haiku for us?
Yes.
I have had such a hard time with self-love. Most of my life, I didn't even like myself. I could like anyone else in the world, even horrible people that did awful things. I found it easier to forgive and like them, even love them, than to be nice to myself or love myself.
That's actually a really good point from Elaine.
And here we are together. Together we can do this. And in reflecting each other's beauty, we will feel more of our own beauty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was so well said, Elaine.
It's beautiful.
Oh, you're gonna get me.
Wait. What's this? Replace inequitable colonialist structures. What do you think they mean when they say, and they're all about to snap for this, what do you think they mean when they say inequitable colonialist structures? Does anyone have any guesses about what they mean when they say inequitable colonialist structures? Yeah, they mean capitalism. They mean capitalism. They mean overthrowing capitalism. They obviously mean capitalism. Colonialism, colonization means capitalism. Structure also means capitalism. Capitalism. Conservative influencers can't figure out how to say capitalism, but we know what they mean when they say colonial structures. They mean capitalism. Just because you guys are smarter than conservative influencers, fucking say capitalism, James! Capitalism. That's okay, James. We'll do it. That's all right. We'll teach everyone it's about capitalism, James, because you refuse to do your one and only job, bro. Collecting the Mills for Liberty paychecks instead. The quizzes are getting too easy, but the problem, Grandma Nay, is that we are the only ones talking about it. Suck it, James.
Colonist structures as well.
This has been one of the best conversations I feel like I've ever had.
Lovely.
And I feel very honored to be with all of you. I really appreciate, again, all of y'all's vulnerability during this conversation. I know sometimes it's not easy, but it's so necessary to talk about this stuff and normalize it for the most part. So if anybody has anything last that they want to say, now's the time.
Yeah, just thank you so much for hosting this. I feel so privileged to be a part of this conversation. All of y'all are so beautiful. I'm so happy to talk with you. So thanks again.
Could I sing a little bit at the end?
Please do.
You have 2 minutes to sing, so heck yeah, you can.
Please do it. Please sing these songs.
As far as I'm concerned.
Perfect.
This is the title song of my only recorded in a studio thing. Okay. It was recorded in London, England. And it's called We Are Everyone. We are everyone, and we've only just begun to understand the truth that sets us free. We are everywhere, whenever people care, enough to be the best that we can be. And we are every way that people love and pray, on the mountains, the deserts, and the sea. And everyone includes you and me. We're your sisters and your brothers, your fathers and your mothers. We are the fruit of every family tree. And the nuts. Your neighbors and
Thank
your
you,
friends.
Allison. I
The
appreciate
circle
it.
never ends. We are every kind and we are each degree. Every color, every shade, every class and every grade. For ages now the world has kept us down. We are rising now. From our struggles we've learned how to share the joy and beauty that we found. And we are everyone. We've only just begun to understand the truth that sets us free.
I now love a lady
are
again.
everywhere, whenever people care, enough to be the best that we can be. And we are every way. People love and pray, on the mountains, the deserts, and the sea. Everyone includes you and me. We are weak and we are strong. We are right and we are wrong. We're trying to make it better as we go. We are young and we are old. Our stories will be told. We're sharing with each other as we grow. We are born and then we die. And in between we try to do the best we can with who we are.
Ain't that the truth?
And together we find the bravest souls are kind.
Woo!
And always try to touch a shining star. 'Cause we are everyone. We've only just begun to understand the truth that sets us free.
I love her.
We are everywhere, whenever people care, enough to be the best that we can be. And we are every way. People love and pray, on the mountains, the deserts, and the sea. And everyone includes you and me. Everyone includes you and me. That means everyone.
Woo!
Well done, Elaine. Well
Thank
done.
you, Elaine.
So you're gonna join me to record this, right?
Yes.
Oh, I recorded the whole thing already.
Wow,
It's already on Spotify. It'll be
we're
on the
gonna have so
radio.
much fun. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. We're gonna have a blast.
We are.
I am just
that was probably the best way to end this, honestly. I couldn't think of a better
I
way to
think
end
so.
this. I'm
So,
sad that we
me
have
too,
to end it,
Tom.
but
Yeah.
don't worry,
Let's
folks
do
watching.
it again.
Yep.
We'll be doing it again. So stay tuned for more info about.
All right, guys, that is the end of our presentation for today. I hope you learned a lot from queer disability studies and how it's obviously socialism, because they talked twice about how they wanted to abolish capitalism, communist. I am going to go do my ill-considered Twitter space with the Groypers now. If you want to join me for the Twitter space, apparently I am no longer shadow banned on Twitter, so you can just search for me, Dr. Carlin B on Twitter, and I can't guarantee that I won't be grossly inappropriate, and I'm sure the Groypers are going to be really effing inappropriate because that is what they're prone to do. We're going to go do that now. Make sure you are subscribed to the Substack, because I am going to be posting some clips from that communist indoctrination webinar we watched last night, and you're not going to believe it. It was some crazy shit, yo. You can also hear my conversation with our new friend, the revolutionary communist of America guy, and the video's on there. The video's also on my YouTube channel, which means it should be on my Rumble channel as well. And I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I think we're going to do State of the Union tomorrow too, because oh God, do I want to get drunk or do I want to get high? Drunk would probably be more entertaining. All right, I'm going to go get some beer and we will do drunk State of the Union tomorrow. I promise. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you mount that like button on the way out the door. We'll see you soon. Bye.